Welcome back to Hannity. Now, last week on this very program, we told you about a group called the American Muslim Political Action Committee and how they're planning to hold a rally on the anniversary of the 9/11 attacks, calling it the, quote, Million Muslim March. Now, the group claims that Muslims have been victimized since the 2001 terrorist attacks, and despite the public outrage, the group is not backing down. Here with me now is one of the organizers of the march, Phillips, and from the American Islamic Forum for Democracy, Dr. Zuhdi, Jasser. Welcome aboard. Chris, so you claim that 12 years later, Muslims are being victimized and made into villains, and you decided to make 9/11 or the anniversary of 9/11 about the victimization of Muslims?
It's about a lot more than that, Sean. It's about a lot of things. There's been 12 years of war since that day, and so we're going to memorialize, obviously, we're going to memorialize, against a number of countries. We're going to memorialize the fallen on 9/11 and the fallen that have fallen in every combat zone and in every country we've been at war with for 12 years.
But it's a war against radical Islam, is it not? A war against extremists, war against those that want a worldwide Islamic caliphate.
Right, but of course innocent people are dying in that process, and so we're going to,
Innocent people died on 9/11, 3,000 people.
Absolutely,
and then
absolutely.
That's right. Innocent people died that day. So you want to make it about victimization of Muslims on a day that...
No.
Well, that's what well, excuse me. It says right here, it says that 12 years later, Muslims continue to be victimized and made to be the villains. Who's making Muslims out to be the villains? I think America goes a great long way to distinguish between radical Islam and Islam.
Sean, aren't you making these innocent Americans out to be a villain right now?
I said America goes a long way to make a distinction between radical Islamists.
But aren't you villainizing them with this broadcast? Are you not actually...
Radical Islamists want to kill us. Radical Islamists want to destroy us.
These people are not radical Islamists. That's what I'm trying to tell you, is that these are not radical Islamists. These are innocent Americans practicing their constitutional liberties, brother.
I do, but I'm saying I think on that day, Dr. Jasser, what do you think? Jasser, what do you think?
Well, I haven't met a Muslim that isn't offended by the exploitation of 9/11. They're calling this the Muslim March Against Fear, when in fact Muslims should be marching on the steps of the Fort Hood trial this week if they had any patriotism and honor to protest Nidal Hassan and demand for the death penalty. They should be protesting at the embassies of the Saudi Arabia embassy, at the Iranian embassy. They should be protesting all of the churches that are being burned by the Muslim Brotherhood. And if you look at the greatest security threat, Chris, to the world, it's radical Muslims from within our house. But you think it's appropriate to emphasize our fear in the country that gives us freedom. Actually, the march should be called How to Radicalize Muslims in One March, because what you're doing is providing the ideas
allow me to say,
that
I don't think you know.
Muslims.
I don't think you know exactly what issues we're going to cover. I mean, the reality is that people all across the world are suffering, and we continue our war on terror that puts us into debt, $20 trillion into debt. We can't afford more of these conflicts, and we have to be realistic about the impact it's having on our economy and on our country.
I'm sorry, you're righteous. Your self-righteousness about budget doesn't fly. If you look at your website, your ideas are virulent anti-Semitism. You've invited Louis Farrakhan. You guys have unroofed every truther and
We've invited everybody. Everybody. Everybody's invited.
You're about a truther movement.
Everybody's invited.
Also, basically, the meme that you're bringing, the idea is that America is anti-Muslim, and those are the ideas that preceded the violence of Nidal Hassan, that preceded the Boston bombers just on April 15, just a few months ago, and you have the temerity to do this on 9/11, where we are mourning one of the greatest attacks against America since World War II.
We renounce all violence. We renounce all violence and the murder of any innocent people anywhere. That's the position we take.
Except you seem to have people with you that are flaming anti-Semites that think that Israel's responsible and say that you want the rest of the 9/11 Commission report released.
I'm sorry. Is this America? Do people have a right to think freely? I'm sorry. Where are we exactly?
But don't call it the American Muslim March against
It's not
fear.
Called that.
The American Muslim Radical Islamist March for How to Radicalize Muslims.
I already corrected you. It's the Million American March Against Fear.
You don't have any...
It's not called the Million American March.
I got a question. You don't have any problem against anti-Semitism?
I think any innocent people dying at the hands of anybody...
I asked you a question. No, I asked you, do you have a problem having anti-Semites or inviting them to your rally?
I said everybody's invited. This is the Million American March Against Fear.
And you have no problem with anti-Semitism?
Freedom of speech in America.
You have a problem with anti-Semitism? I asked you a question. Do you have a problem with anti-Semitism?
Listen, I don't like hate. I don't like hate. Is that clear enough? I don't like hate.
Is anti-Semitism hate?
A lot of times, anti-Islam, anti-Islam is hate.
I asked you if anti-Semitism is hateful.
You certainly lack credibility.
Is anti-Semitism hateful?
Yes, absolutely. But anti-Zionism is not anti-Semitism.
Judy?
Chris, you lack credibility as a Muslim and as an American when you associate with ideas that are just not only anti-Semitic, but they blame Israel for an act committed by Muslims, and you put your head in the sand about the Muslim Brotherhood as they burn churches. Over 80 churches are being burned this week by radical Muslims in Egypt, and you want to blame America? That's just absurd. It's offensive. It's purely offensive.
All right, I got another question.
You can deny it as much as you want.
Said anybody can go. We have radical supporters of Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Islamic, the Muslim Brotherhood, for example. Are they invited to your rally?
Everybody is invited to the rally. Freedom of speech.
Hamas is a terror group that's dedicated towards Israel's destruction.
Listen, obviously, if anybody gets violent, if you're going to be violent, we don't want people there that are violent. We want people to be safe.
But you're inviting people that have views. You don't have a problem with Hamas, Hezbollah members, or Muslim Brotherhood members going?
I would prefer anybody that supports any kind of violence to not attend.
So you don't want those groups to attend?
I would rather anybody violent not attend,
yes. But I'm asking specifically, you don't want members of Hamas, Hezbollah, or Islamic Jihad, or the Muslim Brotherhood going?
Listen, in the same way, I don't want violent, patriots that think that they're protecting America to show up and start attacking Muslims because they think they're jihadists. So I want everybody that's going to be violent to stand away.
Dr. Jasser?
Sean, he wouldn't want somebody from Hamas because this is a preparatory camp for Hamas. So they're not in Hamas yet or Hezbollah, but they're on their way to becoming in Hezbollah.
Don't lie to the American people,
that's the ideology.
No. I'm sorry. Free Americans using their constitutional liberties.
I have one last question, Chris.
Yes,
so you put up on your website, faux news, fairly unbalanced, a picture of me as a clown. How would you feel if somebody did that? How would you feel if somebody did that to the Prophet Muhammad?
Listen, I'm not an Islam. I don't worship Islam, and I would be offended if friends of mine were offended. I'm not a Muslim.
So you're a stooge.
I am not a Muslim.
You're a stooge and a front man for a Muslim organization that's destroying the mission to fight radical Islam around the globe.
They're not destroying anything. They have every right to memorialize 9/11. They have every right.
You're basically a front man.
I'm a front man. I'm a citizen of the United States, brother.
All right, we're going to leave it right there.
Well, you show that the technique you use on your website is just beyond offensive.
Thank you both. Appreciate it. Coming up next, President Obama just